I want to start with playing a clip from Friday, actually, at the People's Dialogue Forum, where Eugene Wamalwa, who is the party leader for DAPK, was speaking. Let's see if we can have that clip so I can say why. I need all of them to miss me with that.
Stand on the side of the Gen Zs. We choose to stand on the side of the people of Kenya. And we who are in the opposition today, we want to say this. We have chosen deliberately and with clear minds where we stand from today. Those who have left the opposition to join Zakayo's government, history is a harsh judge, and may history judge them.
We are choosing from today to stand with the people. We are being very deliberate from today to stand with the people and to stand with Gen Z. Eugene Wamalwa, miss me with that. And I say that because now you're with Gen Z. Now you're with the people who have been going to the streets and, of course, fighting for their rights, who have been online shouting at the highest volume, screaming for their rights. Now you're with the people who expected you to represent their interests when you did go into parliament. Now, when all opportunities for getting into government seem to be lost, when there seems to be no room to crawl and to work your way into the government of the day, now you're with the people. Now, quick one. Why was this only an issue in 2025? Where were you when the bills were being introduced in Parliament? Where were you when they were going through various committees where you had representation? Where were you when the voting stages happened? And I know it's very easy to be told that, you know what, a lot of Wiper MPs, a lot of DAPK MPs did indeed vote no on the finance bill. That's true. A lot of others were also absent, especially on the day when it mattered the most, which was June 25th. You also had members present in the Finance Committee, where it was approved from the very beginning. Where were you as well when abductions were happening? Where was the pushback? Where was the pushback when people were losing their lives in front of Parliament? Where was the pushback when Kenyans were saying online, we feel like we are on our own? When the cost of living was skyrocketing, Azimio leaders said, you know what, we feel you, we're with the people. As soon as a broad-based, bread-based government came into play, it's been crickets as far as that. And I know for the Wiper leader and for the DAPK leader, they'll say, you know what, we have been against this administration from day one. But we know there was a lull waiting to see what happens, what possibilities are there, what possibilities, especially to get into government, are there. So when we say that you are now with Gen Z, I say miss me with that.
You don't buy it at all?
Not one bit.
You don't see as if the opposition is with the people this time, as they sit back and say, you know, what the citizens of Kenya are raising against the government are legit. You see as if the opposition is just speaking because they ought to speak.
I think there is a but at the end of that sentence. We are now with, or until, let me use the word.
We choose.
Right, we choose the people of Kenya. We choose Gen Z until the opportunity to be in government presents itself. And then we're right back into the fold.
But I hear you, and I hear you very loudly, Mariam, and you make a very strong and legitimate case. The issue here is when we elect people and we bestow people with the with leadership and the privilege to lead us, what do we expect from them? We expect that they will represent us. They'll represent our sentiment, our feelings. They'll give us and guide us in the right way forward. And the feeling that has been there is that those in political leadership are same, and so their thinking is the same. And the citizens who are woke are looking at them and wondering, you people are this, you speak the same language. The only thing that you're doing is when one is reading paragraph 1, you're reading paragraph 3, but you're reading the same book. The only difference here is that you are not the one who is controlling the remote to watch the TV in the evening, but you're just complaining. But all of you are in the room, all of you are watching. Whoever chooses this, we're going to watch NTV tonight, all of you are going to watch it. The rest of us are outside.
Yep.
We are only hearing the TV from afar. And when now you say that, oh, those guys have now, taken up the remote and they are monopolizing the remote and the TV, and now as guys we choose to be with the people, you're not even stepping out to come to us where we are.
Right.
You're still sitting in the same room, still watching NTV at night, right? And then saying, but we are the people. No, the people are not in the room with you, and you're not outside of the room with us. And it's a legitimate question that you ask, and I think it's a proper anger that you raise, because where are they? How different can the people of Kenya today sit back and say with confidence that I have an issue with the William Ruto administration because of this, and the other. I have an issue with Raila Odinga joining the William Ruto administration in whatever form this is, with this MOU, because of these issues. But I trust Kalonzo Musyoka. I trust Eugene Wamalwa. I trust Jubilee and its leadership, including the Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni. I trust the Martha Karua. I trust these ones, that these ones are actually representing my ideals.
Right.
The thing that you're saying is that you don't see a difference. I don't. You don't feel.
I do not feel, I do not see, I do not hear a difference. What I hear is opportunism. Is that a word? Opportunisticness, opportunism, whichever. Opportunism. It's a word. Good. That's exactly it. It is hopping onto a bandwagon, making sure that you get onto the bandwagon when it's at its highest, or you at least try to catch it there when it has momentum, and then you exhaust it for all it's worth, and then you leave it to run its natural course until it's death. That's exactly what that feels like to me. Because when we were in the streets, basically making sure that this finance bill doesn't go through, it didn't have to get there. There could have been a lot more pushback within Parliament. And that's why I said, I know a lot of Wiper, DAP, K Jubilee MPs will say we voted no, we voted no. How many were absent? And could those absentee votes have made a difference as far as getting that finance bill through? How many were in the finance committee planning, making sure that we don't have a punitive tax bill or whatever, tax bill actually, in the first place? How many were in the back rooms when negotiations are being made, making sure that the people are heard? They were all in positions to do something, but they chose not to. Okay, protests end, we move on to something different. The same things that were in that bill are being brought back into Parliament. Tax law amendment bill, this amendment bill, this amendment bill. Where are they? Where were they? It's because we were too busy trying to figure out how are Baba and Ruto going to be friends? What does that relationship look like? The eye was not on, hey, are they trying to sneak in that finance bill again? No. The eye was, do I get a seat at this new table? Mnajenga meza mpya ama you're expanding the current one?
What's the play here? What's my position?
Yeah, what's my position here? Mkasahau watu. Okay. Then they finished their deal making, and some people were left out. They will say it's principle, it could be principle, it could just be you were not invited to the table. But let's hear from Kalonzo Musyoka.
If there is no formula out of KICC today showing Kenyans how they are going to compensate the families and the loss of lives because of police brutality, then as my brother saying, nothing will come out of KICC other than betrayal.
Wow, that is so rich. So it is betrayal because what came out of KICC did not have a formula of compensation for those that have suffered brutality in the hands of the government, right? First of all, it's true. I mean, there should be the conversation should be on those that are still missing, where they are, and finding them, answering for those that have were abducted and then they reappeared. Who is it that's been abducting people? We need answers to this. Agreed. We need answers to who has killed those who died. We need answers towards the journey towards justice for those that were killed in the hands of police or whoever during the demonstrations. But even beyond that, beyond this justice, there's a call for justice for even those who were participating in the demonstrations of 2023. The Supuria Maandamano had people who suffered, people whose businesses suffered. There are people who died. Kalonzo Musyoka was a co-chair of NADCO,
Right.
which was formed as a result of this maandamano to pacify the country and to find a way forward. The NADCO report does not have a formula on
For
getting
compensation.
justice or compensation for the people who were brutalized during the maandamano of 2023 or those that have been brutalized in previous maandamanos.
Right.
So this one of him coming to say this thing that's happening at KICC should have a formula for this is crocodile tears.
It absolutely is. That tagline there that says selective compassion, it's not really compassion if it's selective then. It's not really care if it's selective, if it's only when it's politically expedient that you hop onto a bandwagon. And I'll say this, as much as this Miss Me With That has taken from the words of the DAPK leader Eugene Wamalwa, and he was speaking next to Kalonzo Musyoka there, the chief architect of selective compassion is Raila Odinga in this country. He's the one who has weaponized people's rage time and time again, had people go on the streets to support his causes, and then abandoned them whenever it was politically expedient for him, whenever there was a deal on the table, whenever there was a position to be made, something to be, you know, a handshake, some bread-based, all those names we talked about yesterday. He's indeed the chief architect, right? But it is boiling down to the rest of the political class that we can use your movements, we can use your rage, your anger at the government of the day, at the economic crisis, at the health crisis, at education. We can use it as a political tool, get as far as we can with it, and then abandon you. Because I don't think the end game here is representation of the people of Kenya. I don't think the end, if it was, it would have been consistent from the beginning.
You said the chief architect of selective compassion
Yes.
is Raila Odinga himself.
Yes.
Because of the history that you've just given.
Yes. How many times have people gone to the streets in the name of Baba? Baba. Baba. How many people have died?
They'll push back and say it was not in the name of Baba.
It was what?
It was just one leading, but it was in the name of the country.
No.
It was people who are out there in the name of, you know, their the cost of living, in the name of what's affecting them in the country, in the name of pushing for better governance.
You know as well as I do, this issue-based politics has only come to play in the last few years. Not that we've never been issue-based, but we were more tribally cocooned than issue-based. It was Baba is my person and that is my person. Uhuru is my person and that's it. And where he goes, I go. Akisema ngoa reli na ngoa reli. They've never said that, by the way. I'm not saying that. Yeah, just to make it clear. But it has never been as issue-based as it is right now. When people went to the streets previously, it was for Baba. It was for Baba.
And he sold them short.
And he sold them short time and time again. I remember working with some foreigners in 2017, just like, you know, young girl, Nini, getting my feet in. And they were very new to the country, maybe a few months old. And they came in just after the elections and things are very tense, Actually came around the time the Supreme Court ruling happened. And a while later, Nini, this happens, there's a handshake. And I remember one of them asking, in the most innocent of ways, so what was the point? What was the point of everyone going to the streets? It was not everyone at that point, but, you know, it was still a significant number.
Yeah.
What was the point of the bloodshed? What was the point of this elective outrage? Why did we sit at home for a week while Supreme Court is deliberating? What? Like, he was so genuinely shocked. As a Kenyan, I was just like, okay, they've shook hands. Shake. What am I doing? Shaken. Kizungu ilikuja na meli. They've shaken hands. Okay. And him is just like, so what was all that? And that's the first time, you remove yourself and you're like, isn't it ridiculous that people come out to represent you, to fight for your cause, and because they think your cause is their cause, and then you abandon them when it suits you. And now it becomes not just a you thing, but the people who have worked with you, have formed coalitions with you, are now extending more or less the same thing. A situation where you get the people behind, you find the people's movement or the people's pain point, and you hop onto it and you try to ride as far as it'll take you, and then I think you try and hop off at the closest possible exit before things get too tough.
You know, a good thing is happening in this country. And the good thing is that by and by, the narrative politically keeps changing. You know, and there are people who have said, when Ruto started that campaign of the hustler versus dynasty and pushing on with the hustler narrative, right? He was using it as a vehicle to, rally the masses around, to whip up emotions properly, to show people that, you are a different class from those that have been benefiting from the largesse of this economy over the years since independence, right? And then showing them that I'm part of you. And during the campaigns, my colleagues used to say, this thing is going to come back and bite, right? It's a good thing that it's opening the eyes, but because the person who's pushing it is actually not pushing it with the genuineness of heart of making sure that then we equalize the system, equalize the society, it's going to come back to bite, because these people are now woke and they're seeing things differently, and they will turn back and say, but this is what we expected. And we have seen that. We have seen the kind of pushback from the hustlers onto those in the leadership of the hustler movement.
True.
We are also seeing the same spreading on all those in political leadership. And that's why they say, mjinga akierevuka, mwerevu yu mashakani.
Oh, okay.
Mjinga akierevuka, mwerevu yu mashakani. Now, mjinga is slowly erevukaing. Mjinga here now is just using this term to mean the citizens of this country are getting more and more politically aware. And they can see through. They can see through the rhetoric. They can see through the lies. They can see through everything that's being said by the leaders. And so that's why when this handshake happens, you're seeing the reaction that we are seeing.
Right.
This handshake and the reaction we're seeing from this handshake is very different from the reaction that we saw on March 9th, 2018, when Raila and Uhuru stepped out of Harambee House and shook hands. It's very different because people are now thinking, wait a minute, so what is this? It's also very different from the people now seeing those that have been left in Azimio and other opposition groupings,
right,
and what they're saying. When they come out and say, what's happening there is just, it's conmanship. That, we are not going to board, we are going to stay with the people. People are just looking back. If you look at those clips, the youth who were there at the People's Dialogue Forum did not cheer, did not say, yes, we are with you. They just stood and looked at them.
They're like, another day.
Yeah. Now the problem, and that's where the Mwerevu Yu Mashakani, is that those guys at the People Dialogue Forum did not read the room. They actually did not see the kind of response that they got from the people they were addressing.
True.
The people they were addressing did not stand up and say, yes, we are with you.
Yeah.
In fact, they're in KICC, we're in Uhuru Park, we are going to have our own rally here. They did not. They just looked at them. Mmemaliza, mmekuja hapa sababu kuna crowd, ndio mreact ile kitu iko pale KICC, mmemaliza kuongea, malesa uende. Malesa uende. That's what happened.
Right.
And they missed the point. The political leadership in this country is, by and by, every new day, missing this message. And the message here is that the people can read through you. The people can read through when you stand up in Parliament and you speak and you say, Mr. Speaker, I completely oppose this bill.
Right.
Mr. Speaker, the people of Kenya cannot go back to the people. And then when time for voting comes, you are not in.
Right.
Or as you say that, you are actually supporting whatever is the issue here. You're just playing to the gallery. The people can see. And it's about time that our political leaders actually just got out of the stage because they will not see it. They will not see it. So how do we fix this? How we fix this is this mjinga who's revukaing,
right,
then needs to revuka a bit more and say, okay, so not serving me, I'm going to serve myself. The thing of living despite the government has got to end.
Living despite.
Yes.
Okay.
And these words were said some years back by Wanjiru Gekonyo. He said, Kenyans have been living despite the government. And I was like, wait, what?
Wow.
He said, yeah, Kenyans have been living despite the... So the government is there, the government is not serving me, so I will find ways of serving myself.
Despite the lack of services?
Despite the government. The government ought to be providing these services to me.
Right.
I ought to be having a clean environment. They're not cleaning, I'm going to clean it. They ought to be providing education for my children. They're not providing, I'm going to find education for my children. They're not providing healthcare. We're going to do Harambes and take our loved ones to hospital. And even if we need to take them out of the country because our hospitals in the country are not up to much, we shall do that. There's no security. I'm going to hire more security officers, guards to, patrol my neighborhood, to be... we've been living despite the government. And it's time that changes. That we stop living despite the government and know that we are the government.
We are the government.
We are the government. And we need then to form our government, a government that will respond to our needs.
Okay.
And serve us.
What's step one of forming a government? And I know we've spoken about this before.
Yeah.
Do we begin? Is it political participation from a party level, or is it cleaning the house that currently exists?
I think it's both. Those two things are speaking to the same thing.
Right.
In my opinion. In my opinion, what we are seeing now is a bit more political participation, right? In people connecting everything that we're saying. Look at the questions that are coming and the comments that are coming in here when we're speaking to the KRA chairman.
Right.
And the majority, the sentiment here was, why am I paying taxes when I don't see the value for those taxes? And you gave us an example of Finland, where a super majority of the population of Finland, which pays over 50% of people's incomes actually go into taxes.
Right.
I've got friends who live in Finland, and that's what they say. But you will see, people are okay.
They're like,
People are okay.
I'm happy to pay my taxes.
You conceive a baby, you are sorted. You will go to a hospital, you will deliver a baby, you will go back home, you'll even get some financial support at the beginning of the baby's life. The baby will go through school all the way to university, and all of it is fully catered for.
Right.
When you think about going to hospital, you can go to a nearby hospital. When you go into, all those services are provided. That is a citizenry that is enjoying the benefits of its government. So for us to start enjoying this is engaging the way we're engaging and having this conversation that we're having. Some may say these are just, it's idle talk. It's not idle talk. When people are ranting on X and doing and expressing themselves, however, whether they're using cartoons, caricatures, whether they're just using memes,
right.
Whatever they're doing, that is political engagement.
It is.
That political engagement then leads into, okay, so choices that we have to make. How do we make those choices? It's in elective positions, so let's identify, does our constitution framework work?
Okay.
If it does, so how do we put in people who live by these constitutions so they can work?
Now, that part of how do we put in people who will live by the Constitution, largely, you always have exceptions to every rule, but you hope to have people who represent your interests in large part, is the hardest bit about it for me. Because even the people who do represent the Constitution's values at the very highest level, when they get into government, I don't know what happens. I wish I knew, honestly. Even when they are in opposition, as long as they're in elective politics of some sort, there's just some disconnect that seems to happen. That's why I was saying, where do you attack from, right?
Because we let them be, because we elect them, and then they and this has happened in the past, but it's no longer happening. At present, it's not exactly happening, and that's why you raised the issue that you raised. And your sentiment this morning is not just yours. It is a reflection of very many people's sentiments. When they saw Kalonzo at Uhuru Park, they didn't even think about it. They were like, okay, yeah. When they saw that the Azimio people were at Uhuru Park and they were talking before the handshake, they're like, yeah. So what's happening in that handshake? Okay, yeah, the handshake has happened. Look at the people who have sent in their WhatsApp nations today.
Right.
And the reaction to that, the calls that we received yesterday, and the messages that we saw yesterday, and the reaction to the handshake. It's like, yeah. People are like, miss me with that.
Miss me with that.
Okay?
True.
So it's, previously people would elect and then sit back.
Wait for the next cycle.
Wait for the next cycle, complain, and then remove those ones and put in new ones.
Right.
Without necessarily having given much thought into who we are putting. I think it's changing. And it's changing now by people demanding more accountability and people starting to identify alternative leadership.
Okay.
Which is why you see people like Casmuel and others getting the kind of response that they get. Which is why you see people just engaging, they're poking and saying, is this the right leader? Is this the right person?
Questioning.
Is this the right person to speak?
Is it? And does he espouse my values or does she? And how far will it go? I'm looking at people's comments on YouTube and they're really piquing my interest because we're thinking through things together, like in real time, right? Miss Pro says, for example, no, actually, let me leave that on before elections. ReXO says, we the people have to open our eyes, minds, and hearts and the right and heart to fight and vote wisely. My countrymen and women, the shuffling of most of our leaders, I think, has to stop. We all need to play our part, from the common mwananchi to print and other media, the churches, teachers, parents, etc. And I think we're all agreed on that.
Yeah.
Sakina says, politicians only need the mwananchi when necessary to their own convenience and time, and always run to their tribes for support majorly. That's absolutely true. And now my worry is, even as we shift from the tribal cocoons and we move to issue-based politics, how do we make sure that the issues also aren't divisive? Because hustler economics was intended to create them versus us type of idea. There is the ruling class or whoever who are the elite, and then there's the hustlers, right? Forgetting that the person who was the chief hustler has not been a hustler for a long time. I've started that way, but certainly hasn't been. So even as we now move into issue-based politics, how do we make sure that we are still not thinking in that same way and we're not being divided just on a different thing? We could move from Eric is Masai, I'm Kamba, that's a problem, to Eric makes 10 times what I do, so that's a problem.
Yeah.
So it could always be something, you know.
It's moving and it's improving and it's shifting, which is, you know, I think it's part of it is happening organically, and some of it is, although it's organic, there is the push.
Right.
And the push is the current strain economically. And because people are currently strained economically, they start asking themselves the questions, why am I suffering like this?
True.
What's the cause of my pain? And in the bid to try and understand the cause of your pain, you actually track it back into, it's the leadership. It's the governance, stupid. And because it's the governance, now you start looking at, then how do I fix? How do I fix this root cause of my problem so that I can get there? There'll be very many schools of thought, and it's a good thing. There'll be very many schools of thought, very many ideas, very many people who will come, and there's some who will say, all of us ought to be in one bus going towards Mombasa, and we call it a political party. Others will say, let's just head to Mombasa. However, some will use SGR, others will use bus, others will fly, others will drive, others will take a bus, others will just use a smaller vehicle, others will decide I'll walk half and then I'll commute the other half. It's okay. The thing is, can all of us agree that we need to go to Mombasa?
Okay.
And I think there's a general consensus that's building that Mombasa is the place to go.
Okay.
Now, how do we get to Mombasa? Let people decide. As long as we are heading towards Mombasa.
Towards Mombasa.
It's okay.
In this case, what is Mombasa? Is Mombasa, because I think it's, then if we agree on the destination, the journey can look different.
Yes.
That's fine. But what is a Mombasa for Kenya? Upepo wa bahari, what does that feel like for the people of Kenya? Dare I say one? It's an ease in the cost of living.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not having to feel like every day is survival, every day is a fight until the next one, right? And that's across the board, across all levels. It's a closing of that income inequality gap to me. It's an upholding of human rights. I continue. Those are the first two. There's a lot more. Education,
and they're really
healthcare.
good ones. Yeah, and I pick those ones, kina education, kina healthcare. It's where I do not have to worry about where my child is going to school. Okay? That there's a school nearby and I trust the quality of that school. And my child can start going towards, when they come of age, I take them to school I enroll them to school, they start going to school, and I'm not worried anymore about that. I'm not questioning the quality, because there's somebody whose job it is to ensure quality, and they're doing their job. That if I fall ill, I can walk into a health facility and I'll not be worried about the quality of care that I get in this health facility.
Right.
And starting to compare and thinking, maybe I should have gone to another one. That I can actually go in there because there's somebody who's done the job of ensuring that I get quality health care.
Right.
That's
Mombasa. Mombasa is looking good so far.
It's all these things, and it's a place where when I raise an issue and a concern, I am not rubbished. I'm not made to feel like I'm stupid because I raised an issue. It is, I raise an issue, then it is taken down, it's addressed. I'm told, okay, so there's an explanation towards that. Maybe you missed last week's announcement. This is what happened, and this is how. Or, wow, okay, so we take this, I'll listen to you, I'm going to respond. And you feel a response at whatever level of government.
You didn't know your business was meant to be paying VAT? Hiya, Basi. Let's find a system.
Let's find a system.
If you give us 10K every month, we can clear this in 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is how you shall be paying now, making it very easy for you, simple. This is how it works. Okay? It's a place where there's a government that is responsive. And government here is not just those in the national level. It's government to very many people is the person that they interact with there. The person, the public health officer who comes, the agricultural extension officer who comes to your farm.
Right, that's government.
The chief who comes to your farm, that's government. The police officer whom you report to if there's an issue, or who comes on patrol and you see them walking, that is government. When people start being happy with that government, that the people of this village, this center, what's it called, this center? Let's go back into this story. People in a center called Chabarus, near Sengalo Forest.
I was wondering where
along
you were
the
going.
Lesos Kapsabet Road,
Okay.
right? If the people in Chabarus do not feel that they are being harassed by the local police,
Right.
if the people in Chabarus do not feel that they are losing sheep, boda, and they can't explain why, and yet there's a local police station there, that actually the local police station is a legitimate police station that addresses issues
Right.
and addresses their insecurity concerns, that is government.
Government that's
When
working.
this works, when a government is able to actually sense and tell this is a fake police station, that is Mombasa. Bring it down to the very bottom. Now, if these things are sorted, now we start going back into, okay, so we are Kajiado people.
Right.
All right. So does our Kajiado County government support our local economy, our local environment? How does it? If the people who are running a shop there, the people who are today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Today is the day for Kimana Market. If today the Kimana Market is very vibrant,
Right.
if all those traders in the Kimana Market are feeling that there's garbage being collected, there's water being provided, that the toilets are working, right? That they are paying a license, just like a small fee to trade in that market, but it's clean, it's good, and the ones at the livestock market up there, they can go to the livestock, it's clean, it's good.
That's government.
That's government that's working for them.
I agree. I want to take you back a little bit, back to our Miss Me with that, because I'm very wary of our causes being, used as tools, basically.
Yeah.
By opportunistic dealers, quote unquote. How do we make sure that as we're pushing things, as we're pushing for Mombasa, someone doesn't get on our bandwagon pretending that he's going to Mombasa, but his stop is Voi. Alafu anashukia hapo, and they have no qualms, no worries about using you as just a vehicle to get them there.
So somebody has boarded our bus and decided to alight at Voi.
They've decided to alight at Voi, and they are not just a someone. They are ideally a person who we could have put in the driver's seat, or we've made them the conductor, and they want to alight at Voi and leave us for the rest of the journey to figure it out by ourselves.
So now here's the issue. How did we pick this driver? It's just identifying that we have a right driver, right? And a driver who's licensed, a driver who's answerable to us, a driver who does not abandon us halfway. And when the driver stops the bus, he can tell that all eyes are on him. Anataka kwenda kwa hapa kuna wanyama hapa ungesimama Mtito Ndei ama Voi hapa kuja kusimama hapa even in the middle of Savo at night. No way, we cannot do that, you see?
Okay.
So it's that. Secondly, if somebody, just an ordinary passenger, chooses to disembark at Voi, and it's their choice, it's fine, that's a democracy.
Yeah.
The problem is if this guy disembarks at Voi and erects a board that says this is Mombasa. Now
that is the problem. And we have actors like that.
And that means that we must know how Mombasa looks like.
Okay.
Which is why we started this
that's
journey.
why we painted the
We
picture.
knew kuna upepo wa bahari, kuna, pembe mbili.
Right.
We know all those things. Kuna Fort Jesus, kuna Mama Ngina Drive pale, there are all those things. Kuna Nyali Bridge hapa, kuna ferry pande ile. We know the topography of Mombasa.
To drive on your Mombasa in a car.
Yes.
Haya. I'm seeing people's comments hapa. If we elect them and they don't perform, vote them out immediately after the first term. And if the person doesn't work, vote them out. The fact that vote them out in the first term is something that I think is practiced very often by Kenyans.
Yes.
I think I think it's maybe at gubernatorial level that you don't see it happen as much.
Even
Then, to be honest, still people are voted out in their first term regularly. What? I think what wanajua, like, to send people home, Kenyans can send you home. My question would be, what are we doing before, so that we don't have to be fixing after every 5 years, after every 5 years, after every 5 years, which goes back to then the party politics.
Yes.
So that by the time you're at the ballot, you have 3 good choices. Your stress is,
which one?
Napenda huyu,
yes.
Napenda pia huyu mwingine.
This one had very good ideas on this. This one had very good ideas on this. This one had good ideas on this. And then on the balance, I'd go with this ones because
that's it.
Their ideas align more to my needs.
That's your stress. I think so. Because if it's voting people out, we vote people out. Without a doubt, we vote people out on the first few tries or first 5 years, and you're gone. So sometimes when I see an MP who's been an MP for 3-4 terms, if you do go back to their home constituency, utaona vitu zinafanyika. Things are moving. I don't know if yours is a second term or third term MP. Unajua? Your home MP?
It's the first time.
Okay.
It's first time. Yeah. Thank you very much for following our conversation today. This is what we do, one conversation at a time. And like we said, it's because of having these conversations that we are going to be fixing the nation. It's just a conversation. They appear to be conversations. We are planting seeds among ourselves. We are engaging and debating and, asking ourselves questions. And we must continue doing that. This is how we shall fix the nation. It's Mariam Bishar and Eric Latif saying, see you again tomorrow morning. Your world is coming. And where are they today? Do we know?
Actually, where are they?
Wako Ruiru, and they were in Ruiru even yesterday. And so the girls are there. Just follow up on Your World coming up next on NTV. See you again tomorrow.